Val, hello. Welcome to the Retail Whore Podcast.
Hello, my beautiful Michelle. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm also so grateful for how gracious you were because I just had a incident where I've never been locked out of Zoom, and I'm like trying to email you, and I apologize, and
Yeah.
you're so gracious. So thank
No,
you.
absolutely. Things happen. And a fun fact, typically when something like this, for me on my end, is always some kind of warfare. It's like, what just happened? Why are things not working the way they're supposed to be? So I was cool and calm about it. It's all good. I'm
I just
just glad.
felt I could see you sitting, like my phone is telling me Val is waiting, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm glad you sent me your text number because that was one of those things where we don't ask for guests' phone numbers. And that
Yeah,
brings up a really good thing for me now to think about. Like, we need to add that just so we can text somebody and say, we're having challenges.
1,000%. And because naturally, prior to coming on, typical person is probably not watching their email. So I'm like, oh my gosh, she's emailed me like 3 times. So
That's called panic emailing. Okay, I am super happy you're here. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
sure. Okay, so I am Val. It's Valerie, but if we're friends, it's Val. I have been in this fashion industry. Well, I'll back up a little bit. I started out in the world of counseling and therapy. I have my master's in family counseling, and so that was kind of where, in terms of going to school, I went to University of Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. So I stayed there up until 97, moved to Atlanta, and had a cousin who was in the fashion industry, started her own line, and really organic way of finding my way through this whole world. I opened up a boutique because I thought for a minute I wanted to be I don't know what I thought. I think I was living my passions of fashion, and I thought I'm going to open a store. Well, it's not for everybody, and I learned that lesson really, really fast. I was open every day except for Sunday. Then it went to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then it went back to by appointment only.
Oh,
Um, no, literally. No, I went through all the phases. But it works for some people, and some you just have to know your lane and know how to still do what you're passionate about, but not necessarily a brick and mortar. And I'm sure we'll digress into some other things like that in terms of knowing what your niche is in this fashion industry.
mhm.
So because I had this store, I was at the Apparel Mart in Atlanta a lot. And one of my really, really close friends now just asked me to help her. Literally, she's like, oh my God, Val, can you stay with me for the day? It was actually happened to be an apparel show. And I was like, absolutely, I'll stay. And I mean, I think we had the best sales week that we literally I left that day and she's like, can you come back tomorrow? And I was like, okay, I'll close the store down and come back tomorrow. But the dynamic between the two of us selling and curating these stories for these stores was just amazing. And it was really, like I said, this organic moment that just kind of like, this is your gifting. You didn't sit through class, you don't have like a million books. This is it, right? And she was amazing. I learned a lot from her. But I will tell you, and I'll tell everybody else that's listening, I used my degree with psychology and knowing how to understand people and knowing how to push back. All of that still had relevance. And
Mm,
so it was amazing. I think I used my degree more in this industry than I did when I was sitting on a couch across from someone.
wow.
Totally amazing. Because you do have to, if you really care, you do have to get into the mind and into the heart of what it is that people are really looking for, because half the time they don't know.
Mm.
And so I learned that really fast. And sweet, sweet friend, Heather Gilead, shout out to her. She has a showroom called G2 Showroom, and she taught me all the ropes. But what's interesting about the world of fashion and being in trade show world is somebody's always watching. And so as I would come subsequent shows and help, someone asked her and said, hey, is she with you all the time? Does she work full time? Who is she? Because I need a girl. And she says, she comes to me, she goes, Val, I love you enough to let you fly. And
Mm.
this person can let you travel and you'll learn so much more than you've learned from me. And I promise you, she could ask me for anything. I will give her the world because she literally was gracious enough and not selfish. I mean, she could have told the person, like, no, she's full time, she's totally mine, which is what happens in this
Yeah.
world. Nobody wants to give up their
Yeah.
girl that helps them sell. And so she did. She's like, they're going to approach you tonight and you say yes, you're going to take it. And I did. And beautiful, beautiful young lady who is literally, she's a part of my family, Alyssa Ramirez. She went to FITM. She was just like layers on top of layers of you're going to be the grasshopper and I'm going to like really turn this whole world onto you and you're going to flip it and make it bow. And we, I think we were the, I don't know, it was like Wonder Twin Power when it came to
Hmm.
shows and sales. And did that again, same thing. I had a brand watch me for 2 solid years. And when they came to me, they said, we've been watching you for 2 years. We see how you're always on time and you're always like, we watch you set up and break down and do all of this. And we really want you to come work for us. And I thought, I'm really happy. I was like, no, I was working for a jewelry line. I said, no, I love what I'm doing. And they said, nothing will have you leave. And I was like, I don't know about nothing, but sometimes when you change brands, it could seem like it's good, but Michelle, have to be so passionate about what it is. I have to really want to use it in my real life. I have to, has to be easy and seamless. I don't want to ever feel like I'm selling to
Hmm.
someone. And so their product was something that obviously it was something that I could use. It was a cell phone company. And she's like, listen, I'm not going to talk to you anymore about it. I'm just going to send you an offer. You say yes or no. Well, I get the offer at a next show and I open up the email, and if they're watching, they'll now know what happened. But I had my, like I said, my very best friend now, Alyssa, open it up and I said, you read it. I don't know, because I just don't want to leave you. And she slammed her laptop down. She's like, Val, you have to take it. You're going to say yes to them. So here it is, the same kind of like stepping stone 5 years later from the first time that my first friend told me to fly. And now it's happening again. It was a huge promotion for me. And I took it up into the pandemic. Now, where it comes to Pixie Mood, I've known them for, this is our 13th year, and I've known them for about 10 years. We've been selling in the US. It's a Canadian-based line. And right away, we hit it off. Right away, I was giving insight on functionality, naming the bags, and just helping them overall with brand perception for the US particularly, because Canadian buyers and what they like is totally different
Is it
to
really?
some degree. It is. I mean, even when it comes, Michelle, to color, they could they are enthralled with like undertones, especially in the winter. They want to feel that season. And here we don't want to acknowledge that it's snowing. So
Yeah.
we want like coconut cream in the winter. We want like really vibrant, still kind of like we'll borderline some darker colors, but it's just apples and oranges when it comes to style and like I said, colorway. So right away I help them with that kind of thing.
Wait, okay, let me
And just
back up for a second. Did
sure,
you leave the other? Because there's a lot to unpack.
sure. No, there is.
Um,
Stop me whenever,
no,
because I can
no,
keep going.
I'm like, I want to back up before you get too far. So I love
Okay.
that you had these mentors in the business and they brought you through the industry and then let you fly, because mentoring is like one of those things I think is so important. And I think
Totally.
a lot of people also don't realize they're mentoring when they have somebody brought in and there's that energy and you bounce off each other. I don't even know sometimes if people always recognize that's mentoring. But what a
Sure.
gift to have somebody say, okay, like you need to fly and like here's this amazing opportunity. When the pandemic hit, what happened to the other brand that you got this amazing offer from?
Sure. So the cell phone brand, their home base is New York. And because they were in ground zero, so to speak, of how the
Yeah.
pandemic just like totally, a lot of cities obviously handle things differently, but because New York is what it is, our shows are hosted at Javits. Their home office was in New York. They were impacted really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And I got the phone call of, Val, we love you, but we just don't even know how this will work, in terms of because my primary job with any brand that I take on is the travel portion, is the, meeting face to face with these stores, whether it is an existing store, whether it is our big box brands, and building that relationship and obviously curating packages for them. So there goes 95% of what I do for said company, right? So once they decided that and decided to focus on their retail and their key accounts, that kind of left me with nothing. But I promise you, it was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Kelvin, who is co-owner with his beautiful wife Chloe for Pixie Mood, they called me almost immediately and was like, "We know that you're not working because they can't. It's New York, so now you're full time with us."
That's
Um,
amazing.
it was so amazing because it was not even something that I ever had to even worry, like, oh, what am I going to do next? It just was very seamless.
It's funny.
And
I say that the pandemic, as I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't hate it. I mean, it was a horrible, horrible because it's at this point right now, it's sort of surreal that it's actually
sure,
happened. And I don't even
sure.
like to talk about it that much because that's how this podcast started was I was doing lives during the pandemic. But it is interesting to see how when I say I didn't hate it, it's interesting to see how it has fast forwarded people's careers, how it's fast
Yeah,
forwarded stores going out of
yes,
business as well as brand new business, how people are doing business because it's like everyone was forced to change and pivot and whatnot, but it's interesting to see how quickly the industry as a whole was fast forwarded. Like I don't think
yes.
people would be going live from Magic, like some of these girls that have these online things going
Never,
live. Like, I don't think that would have happened without
never.
this fast forward of like all of a sudden everyone needs to be going live. I mean, trying to keep your business, like how all these new brands have come out and like how the industry, because that's one thing I love seeing now. And I talked to somebody the other day and it's like seeing how much different the industry is now
Totally.
because of the pandemic is really kind of exciting to be part of it and watching it happen real time.
In
I
real
mean,
time.
obviously people who have not changed, it's sad to see some stores go out of business, but I think that this is like ushered in a fast forwarding of how the industry is now going to be moving along. And for you, it's like a whole brand new career.
Totally. And you know what? It's like you're preaching to the choir, which is why I've always had some affection for you because I feel like we're like from the
Total
same soul.
kismet.
Yeah, totally. Because I literally have to preface what you just said with, don't get me wrong, really bad things happen, and my heart goes out to people who have lost people. But you, for me, it's always about extracting the good out of any negative, right?
100%.
And and so I have always, Michelle, said my COVID was already a COVID. Like I was kind of already sheltered. I was kind of already doing some things. So it wasn't a bad deal for me in terms of revamping. And I don't know what other scenario, because for me, Pixie Mood and working in doing exactly what I do on a more so full-time basis, it's like coming back to your first love. It like, again, I was doing all these other things with these other brands, but the undertone of what of the brand that I was always kind of assisting and helping and working with was always Pixie Mood. So I don't know what would have drove me otherwise to say, okay, here I am, now I can give my full attention, except for things to strategically happen the way they did, and decide that this is where I belonged anyway, in terms of giving my full focus.
So,
And
so were you a multi-line rep? Did you have multiple lines in the showroom? Is that how Pixie knew you, or were you
no,
already kind of working with them on the side?
I was working with them on the side, and there's really not a name for what I do. I kind of just made it up, and I'm my own little unicorn because I've
Mm.
never been called a rep and I've never worked for a rep agency. I just was, and I say this all the time, I was just Val. And the way it happened just really seamlessly, like, hey, come up here and help me. Um, I did that for my friend Heather that was in a multi showroom. So she had about 3 or 4 brands that she worked with. So then I was kind of moving around between her showroom specifically. But then when I went on to the jewelry brand, what I had to do was I had to come up with what that meant, or what my role would be just to the industry. And what I decided was, okay, it's just me. I don't have this team behind me, or I don't have this team that I'm working for per se. But I will take your full contract in terms of travel. At that time, pre-pandemic, I would put in my contract that I would have to have a guarantee of a certain number of shows. And pre-pandemic, I think I did about 23 shows a year. So
Oh my
between January,
God.
I
Oh
know
my God.
I loved every minute of it. That's a lot, right?
I have PTSD from living in Las Vegas. I swear. Like I travel a lot. I do not travel
Yeah.
that much, but I mean, for people who are listening to this, who, all of us know people on the other, like the wholesale end of it, but I don't
Mhm.
think everybody, when you go to the apparel shows and when you go to the gift shows, and I've said this a couple times, but I don't think anyone really realizes, like, for you guys, the schlep is real. Like I mean, setting up
Totally.
in New York is a whole other thing, but like,
The whole monster.
you get there and you have to unpack the boxes, and then you have to check the tags, and then you have to
Mhm.
set it up. And then that's maybe
You
two
have to do
days of like,
inventory. Yeah.
maybe 2 days of doing that. And then you magically turn into the sales, and you're there and you're on and you're shining and you're talking, and then you're going out at night because you're taking clients out. And
Yes.
and that goes on for like 6 days. And then you pack
Totally.
it all up, and we all know the gift shows just stacked one on top. And then you go to another show. And it's like,
Do it again.
that's a schedule that I mean, I'm happy to say I set it up and then I walk away. I don't have to
You
deal
do.
with it till the next show season. But
Yeah.
that your
You
guys'
do.
schedule is crazy. And to hear 23 shows is nuts. And don't
23
you
was my
have kids?
it was my minimum, Michelle. Minimum 23 in order to say I will take your full-time contract. That was my because again, for me, I'm not at home on a laptop making calls to customers. I want the credit card to be real. And I like to say that my average is probably about 99% of me being able to, make it as real as possible, whether that's a key account or a small boutique. But when I go home, I go to sleep, right? So for me, the show and being on the road, I'm giving 100,000% to just that, to,
Wow.
put my effort into this game, so to speak. But yeah, so 23, it was a crazy monster of a schedule. And January and February is brutal because
Yeah.
that's Fashion
All
Week,
show.
all show. And then it hits you again late July into August. That was
Can't
always my
wait.
I've never in the last 10 years been able to go to the first day of school with my kids because
Oh,
that first week is a show.
yeah.
And we always start here. I'm in Georgia. We start August 3rd. And it's always a show in history. That week is a show. And it
Oh
just
my
is what it
gosh.
is. So yes, you asked about the kids, there's 4 of them.
Mama.
um, mama of 4. Um, it's easier, I will say. My little one, she is 10, so she only knows me traveling. Like
Okay.
she doesn't have any reference. She just turned 10. She only knows me traveling. The other 3, I don't know. I think what I proposed to them, and especially now that they're much older, obviously, than 10 years ago, but as they got older, I said to them, I said, listen, you tell mommy if I am traveling way too much for you. Like, do you feel like I'm missing out? Do you feel like, tell me what I could do better as mom, right? And they go, no, mom, you're good. I'm like, no, no, no. Let's be real talk. You're not in trouble. It's not a big deal. Just say, I said, but let me give you your options. If mom goes to work at a real job, I'm gonna leave here about 7:30 or 8. So about the time you get on the bus or get ready to go. and I'm not coming home till about 7 o'clock. That's after dinner because of traffic, what have you. So would you rather me do that every single day, Monday through Friday?
Hilarious, you gave them this.
Or would you rather me give you my 10-month calendar and you know when I'm gone and when I'm coming back? But when I come back, I can have lunch with you at your school. And they were like, no, keep doing what you do.
Oh, I love that you gave them that option.
I did. And I was legit serious, except for the fact that if they said go get a 9 to 5, I probably would have broke out in hives.
So talk to me about Pixie Mood, because I met you because you are repped by sales producers that I work in their showroom. They're also the sponsor of this episode. And I remember when your bags came in and they I come out of fashion. I mean, I was with Fred Siegel for years. Like that's truly my passion. Now
Yeah.
I'm much more gift than but it was so amazing to see these designs. And then the fact that they're vegan and that being a very big part of the industry right now, as far as vegan bags, a lot of vegan bags, no offense everyone, but are super granola. They're like, they're sold in showrooms that, have incense and all like the granola. They're not like fashion. I mean,
They're
they're
not fashion
awesome,
forward.
but yours were, I mean, and the fact of like how deep, I mean, your space is big. It's I think 10 by 10 and there's a lot of bags. It's not like, there's a couple introductions. I mean, there's a lot of bags and I mean, the colorway, like what you were saying earlier, and we'll touch on the coloring is very different, but like than the Canadian version, but they were all so beautiful and the tones were beautiful. And I mean, tell me a little bit about the backstory of Pixie Mood.
Sure. So beautiful husband and wife. I mean, I absolutely adore Kelvin and Chloe. They are co-owners. Chloe, like me, started out in psychology, ironically. That's her degree.
Wow.
But she had this passion for 13 years ago, had this passion for design. She loved drawing and loved fashion. So she started doing, and this is also a fun fact about the name, started doing these whimsical kind of drawings with these bags. And she would always a lover of animals, so she's always vegan. But she'd do these like small little crossbodies and little wallets and kind of similar to what we have now, this wallet crossbody, things like that. So she was doing that, but it just had this whimsical feel to it. And so the word pixie derived from that. And then we just tacked on mood because it's just kind of like the flow that you're in. You're in this kind of jovial pixie mood. So that's the backing of the name. And then as they went on, they did, of course, the beginning things that you do, pop-up shops, trade shows, and they were just listening to the audience of what people really wanted and what people were looking for. And she's so smart and innovative that she doesn't stay stuck in one way. She constantly evolves and changes, and not afraid to, like I said, when I came on, I don't think it really mattered what suggestion I made. She was so open and
Wow.
always so, which is very rare.
Very, very ego. Oh my God. Like that's amazing. And I mean, I think to find somebody that's that open-minded, and is not so attached to, but I made it, but I did it. I mean, like, because even like what I do, it's and anybody that creates anything, it's very personal and you're very attached to, and design is very subjective. So for somebody to be able to take their self out of it and look at it from an outside perspective of what, design wise is very rare.
Completely like a 1%er. And I think that speaks to the longevity of the brand that, 13 years later, you still have people that go, oh my God, I've never seen you, or where you been all my life? This is great. But the other thing too, I think it also has to do with kind of what I mentioned in terms of having that psychology background helps you think in a different way. I'm sure you meet a lot of people and they buy for their stores only what they like.
Oh my gosh, I just had a conversation about this yesterday. It was so
Is it not the most like painstaking thing to go through when you see that happen?
as a consultant, it's we talk about it a lot. And I did another podcast with Crystal from Crystal Media, and it was like knowing who you are buying for is beyond important. And I made the mistake
That's about
of going to Magic one year and
it.
not forgetting, I did not listen to my own advice of knowing who I was buying for. In the
Mhm.
industry at that time, everything was leopard. Do you remember that a couple years ago? Like
Yes.
you
Yes.
couldn't go into a booth that didn't have leopard. So it was like
Correct.
kind of like, okay, like the first couple aisles, I was like, I don't know. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, I'm on
Overlap.
board because this is
Everybody's doing it.
and I ordered it for the store I was with, which is a
Yeah.
pharmacy, which the number one apparel. You met Erin. It's for the birth
Yes.
pharmacy. The
Love
number
her.
one thing we sell is apparel. So, I was like, okay, so I did two big racks of, and we cut it with different things. And oh my God, it bombed so bad because
Yeah.
areas like just doesn't like leopard. And it was like, and what happened was I forgot my own theory of know who you're buying for and not buying it for yourself. And like,
Mhm.
are these people going to embrace leopard? Again,
Yeah.
in a pharmacy, it's like $40 is the magic number, not needing a fitting room is the magic key, and
Yes.
instant gratification. And none of those items were instant gratification. So I totally
No.
understand that don't buy what buying for yourself.
And you know what? And I think again, that was her principle. She may have never thought of it this way until she watches this, but I think that that's why it comes of ease for her because psychologically she's thinking from the perspective of what do you want? Like, and I'll you give me that platform and I'll make that, or I'll figure out how to curtail that to your line. We have about 13 bags that we've had for the 13 years, and those are our staple bags. Those styles, they have just proven time and time again that whether in Canada or the US, this is what works.
Bread and
And so I
butter.
think that that's also nice to have a traditional core
Yep.
brand of your brand that just says, if I see that bag, I know it's a Pixie Mood bag. I think that's very important for any line to establish that. Like,
Yeah.
if that's your jacket that you have for your line, let that be said jacket for this line, no matter what. And then we throw trends on top. Twice a year, we change the colorway. So always evolving, always, listening to our customer, listening to our stores, paying attention to trends to a degree. Because I think what Chloe does as well is she's an avid, she's not just drawing, she's studying. And we're trying to pick up patterns like, okay, so that we can be in front of the trend. Sometimes we're too far ahead of the trend. We've put out bags that for some areas it's not their thing till about they buy it 2 years later, when for
I
us
know.
it's old.
Yeah.
And but I love that. I love staying ahead of the game versus I think I'm like that in my own personal life, that I don't know something is a big deal until after I'm done wearing it. And then I'm like, I see it on a mannequin and but I think that that's just innate. It's just, I think that that's the DNA part of
The
people that,
fashionista. I mean, come on. I mean, that's like that's one thing, I've spent my life in fashion. I
yeah,
do not look like it because 90% of the people see me and
yeah.
I'm in leggings, a t-shirt, and sweatshirt.
You're fabulous, Michelle. I think I've seen you in your. I feel like people are either 2 dimension fashionable or 3 dimension, depending on how often you go out. And I have seen you in both worlds, and no matter what, because here's the deal: whether you have your leggings, then it's your tousled hair, then it's your glasses. It's always something that's gonna bring
Aw.
back. And I'm like, this girl has the it factor. I've seen her like in yoga pants, and she still got it
Oh
going
my
on.
God. Thank you. It's funny because I talk about my days at Fred Siegel where, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. Like, and I had 40% off and like all the stores at Fred Siegel. So, there was couture pieces and
Sure.
I'm, and so that's so not my closet anymore. And it's like, but I mean, it is what it is. But the fashion, once you're a fashionista and it's like, once it's in your
Yeah.
blood. It's what you
It
love.
it
And
is.
it's still why I pour through magazines and I go to
Yeah.
fashion magazines before I
Yeah.
go to home magazines, because to me, fashion's where it starts. and then it
Sure.
trickles down into the gift world and whatnot. So with the bags and you guys have your core items, how many new designs do you guys kick out each? Because they change from season to season, right? It's not just done on a yearly thing.
So that's an interesting question, just because my answer is different pre-pandemic than it is post.
Of course.
Michelle, we had so many SKUs that and we name every bag. I'm sure you're aware of that now. So everybody, there's a Caitlin, there's a Cora. Every name, every bag has a name, which it's a collaborative. You know, Chloe's naming them, or she's getting suggestions. I have one sweet one named after my little girl that actually happened to be an Oprah favorite. I
Oh,
think they've been named out of everybody in my house. I think I have 2 more kids left that we need to make names for, that we're working. But yeah, it's a lot of bags. And if we do 5 colors, each bag is in every color.
that is crazy. I mean, and
Insane.
you guys wiped, the one thing I was really surprised about, and I'll tell you, as a merchandiser, super happy, is
Mhm.
that when I get to a lot of showrooms, there's new introductions, and then
Yeah,
there's still a lot that's left on, and a lot of
sure.
lines don't like to edit. So you end up with a lot of what came out the last couple seasons because no one wanted to edit it away. And then this
Mhm.
giant new introduction package.
Yeah,
And what happens, and what a lot of vendors don't realize, and it's like so beautiful that you guys do this, is that you guys literally wiped the whole collection out and sent all new collection in. You had some like pieces of very
yeah.
small handful of pieces from the season before, but what that enables us to do as merchandisers or anybody in a store is that if you don't edit, put things on sale, whatnot, your old stuff chokes out your new stuff, and you
Totally.
cannot see any of the new stuff because all the old stuff is still there. And it's like, even if you try and
Yeah.
pull it out and try and make it look special, you still have all the old stuff that's choking it out. And it's like, I wish more vendors and stores realize this. Like, I just went through a store, I was in Wyoming, and literally, like, they had so much old stuff. I'm like, okay, we're going like full Fred Siegel mode of sale. Like, we're pulling all the stuff that's old, that's
Yeah.
holding up like space, so your new stuff, so you can see it. So, but I think that as I digress, I think that that's incredibly, because you guys literally wiped it, and it was like, oh, praise God, it's all new.
No, we are kind of known for that, and we get the praise and we get the flack, because then you have, that group that's like, but that was my favorite, especially when it comes to our colors, because the color is gone. I mean, we have
So
3
you guys
core.
wipe it not only out of the showroom, you guys wipe it all together.
It's done. I mean, it's on our promo, and we might have it for sale for some time so we get rid of it out of our warehouse. But yeah, they graduate. And so
Graduate, I love that.
what happens on top of our graduate, you like that? They have to graduate. They
Yeah.
can't stay forever. And it is, for me, I never felt this until recently. And my team over at Pixie will probably laugh at this part. There's a backpack that I promise you I carried for 2 solid years straight. Love this backpack. Her name's Serena. She's just fabulous. If you guys listening, go on pixiemood.com, and Serena's still available. I implore you to get her. You won't be disappointed. And I never felt, because I'm all team graduate. I'm all team, let's bring in new, let's freshen up, let's make it look like, oh my God, I didn't even know this brand existed, even when they bought from us
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
couldn't remember. But this bag, I just wanted, she was everything. And so I told them, I said, I finally feel like our customer who hates sometimes that we evolve so much, because I did not want that bag to leave, but I knew it was time for her to go. She'd had her heyday. 2 years is pretty much a long time. That's kind of where we cap. If we keep a bag from, let's say we introduced it in spring, fall, it comes back the next spring, you can pretty much guarantee she's not coming back that 4th show. Because we're on to the next.
Well, what I think people don't realize, in the brilliance of that, and this is what I try and teach retailers, is you are creating a scarcity item. Like, if you don't
Yeah,
buy this show and you
it's
love
gone.
this, I can't tell you enough. Like, if you love this, buy it now. Like,
Yeah,
because if you come back next show and you're like, oh, maybe, I thought about that bag. I want to do it now. It's like, well, it's gone now. And it's same thing
yeah,
as retail. And I try and tell everyone this, like, when you buy, like, I'm not a big fan of just running that reorder over and over and over. Cause at some
sure.
point there's going to be a capper, and it's like, no one's going to buy it
1,000%.
more. Your regular customer that's come in every day has seen it. She's ready for new. And by doing that, both on a line and in a retail space, is that you're creating that scarcity of like, if you love it, buy it now. And
Yeah.
I think that's fucking brilliant. Excuse my
Hmm.
language.
Well, no, well, it makes it special, right? It makes you feel like it's that rush of, oh, I need to be in on this. I need to like have the bag. And because one thing that I always loved about Pixie, and this is from the 10 years that I've been with them, I actually use the bag myself, which is what my gravitation towards them as a couple and as a brand, because I'm like, I travel for a living. I use this bag. I'm not the nicest about my bags. It's
Looking
getting
up this
thrown
bag right
under,
now.
yeah, it's getting thrown on the overhead. It's in the Uber, it's everywhere. And the bag holds up. And so that's the first thing that impressed me. And then my oldest, who's now 21, she kind of waits with bated breath for me to finish the bag so that she can carry it.
So
So
cute. This is it, guys.
Serena, she's
So
hot.
cute. She came
She
up
is a
very quick, by the way, in Google search. She's
Google search
popular.
it, guys. You won't be, if you don't buy it for yourself, buy it for someone and they will love you for it.
I think I
But
need
our
one.
bags, what I realized, the quality of them was so like none other. And I typically say that we're not your ordinary non-leather handbag. Our sustainability you talked about is huge for us. So much so that we have no carbon emission, which basically for you guys that might be just too much lingo, says that we have taken all the chemicals that are leached from using not very good product to make a non-leather bag out of the atmosphere. So I make this, I guess it's a morbid joke, but I make this joke that our factory workers may die from something, but it won't be because they made our handbags.
Oh my God.
So isn't that pretty morbid? But it's true. And I think that that's huge on the part of Kelvin and Chloe to just take it that next elevated level to say, hey, people will appreciate that we're not doing anything extra to be harmful to the planet. So you have all those things going for you, and then we have just this amazing responsible give back part of our brand where we're partnering with other socially responsible and conscious environmentally friendly
Oh, see, I
organizations.
didn't know this. So who do you guys
Yeah,
partner with?
so we're with TerraPass. We're with One Tree Planted, where if they buy one of our bags, we do one tree. We're with every year we give to women's organizations and things of that nature. So they do a lot
I love that.
in terms of, yeah, it's so sweet. And I think that speaks to the brand, the heart of the brand, and I love any company that has a story. So once we have all of that in place, now you have to package the goodness of the brand, the socially responsible part of the brand, and then make it pretty. And that is super hard to do. Um, because you have, like I said, really nice looking bags that are not leather, but then you have all these other things with it, right? They don't hold up. They look like they're not made well. But when you put, I think it's just the secret sauce of all of it. And whatever that magic was, it's being done. And that's the part that I cannot speak any less about Pixie Mood. I just absolutely love what I do. I love to be able to tell somebody, hey, I've really carried this bag for 10 years. I love to be able to say, hey, I carried it for 2 years, gave it to my daughter. She carried it for another year. Like that's huge,
Yeah.
for a vegan handbag line. And the creativity part, it never stops. When I think we got it, and I'm like, oh, this is the best collection that we've ever done. And then fall comes up, and it's just like, oh my God, like how did we come up with this? This is amazing. It really it's a good thing.
So talk to me a little bit about, since you're a fashionista, about trends that are on the horizon some of your favorite things from this last spring set of shows, because I'm assuming that you walked the rest of the shows as well. And like, tell me a little bit about some of the things you as a fashionista loved, but that's coming down the pipeline for all of us as far as like style and trend.
Sure. I am still like into this whole look of it's kind of like this mod chic kind of look. I'm loving that we're pairing still boots with everything. If you don't have a pair of white boots, guys, and you're listening, get on the train. You're actually about a couple years late.
I love
Because
the
I
white cowboy boots so much.
love, 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 love. I mean, you're putting your boots with shorts. You're putting your like it is the thing, and it is not. I think. Well, let's be honest. Like in LA that's what they do anyway.
Yeah.
But just as an overall thing, it's still the look. It's the oversized shirt with the boots. That's still like a huge hit. The big loose sweater with the beautiful collared white long t-shirt. That's just like it's timeless pieces and things that you can wear forever. To be honest with you, I honestly don't walk the show a whole lot.
Wow.
Well, a couple reasons.
Well, you're busy
Um,
selling.
I'm busy selling and I work by myself. And so typically I'm in some of my booths are 10 by 13. And so it's hard for me to like really move around and get out. And I think just on a whole, I don't know, Michelle. I kind of know what I like. And like I said, I don't even know that it's a thing until it's a thing.
Well, okay,
Um,
what are you wearing right now? Because this is like, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, this is fabulous.
Thank you very much. This is COS New York. It's KAS. Obviously, it's a brand based out of New York, and I love they. You don't even want to know how long I've had this dress, but I am
I love
a believer of timeless pieces. I love pieces that you can have and you can wear in any season, and it still works. Um, I think a lot of people, when they see me, they think, "Oh, you shop all the time." And it's not even that I shop all the time. I just try to buy things that will never go out of style. Once I buy it, that's it, unless until I'm ready to give it away. And then I have my tried and true Valentino sneakers.
Oh my
And
gosh.
listen, guys, sneakers with a dress or a skirt, game changer.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you, that was, as we say, hate that things happen, but COVID kind of really pushed that into the world of trend. You had a few people doing it out of convenience, but it wasn't from a fashion standpoint.
All the women, the New Yorkers that, wear their tennis shoes to walk 18 blocks. It's like they had no idea they were trending.
They had I was, oh my God, you took the words from me. They had no idea that it was a thing. And even for them, again, it was all about getting to your job and changing shoes, right?
Yeah.
And so can you imagine now how they feel about like just pairing a nicer brand of sneakers and wearing them all day with your outfit and going into business meetings and still on part and on trend?
I was just so happy that the tennis shoe skirt dress thing was so big because 2 years ago I broke my foot
Yeah.
and I can't, well, one, I can't wear heels anyway because I can't walk in them. But
Okay.
it was like to be able to wear tennis shoes with the skirt and dress and like at least like and it, God forbid Birkenstocks ever go out of style, I'm totally
Yeah.
screwed because those are the only two things I wear. What do the colors look like for, have you seen the colors for fall for Pixie?
You know what? Have to narrow down that collage. Actually have it in my inbox. I
Is
just
it
have
earthy?
not.
Is it, have you looked?
I didn't even take a peek because I
Ah,
wanted to, it's like Christmas for me. So like when I sit down, I have to really, I just came off of like a very brutal travel schedule. And so I think I was telling you guys that like I just needed to like in my other hats and other world that I do.
yeah, because I
Um,
saw you, we were in New York together. I saw you in
yeah,
New York, and then that was, I came back from New York. I was home for a couple days, and then I had Magic, and then that was my last trade show. What you continued
no,
on.
yes, I did. Okay, New York, you saw me. That was early February. Um, I went back to New York for New York
Coterie?
Magic,
Okay.
but Coterie, yeah, same time. And then immediately after that, the following week, I did Chicago, which is a new show now called the Women's Collective, formerly Style Max.
Hmm.
So I did that, and then I left there. And about twice a year with Pixie Mood, we do a cash and carry show. So I did a cash and carry show in North Carolina, in Greensboro, um, which is really, the world of when you switch over and do retail, it's just a whole
Cash and carry is a whole other thing. Like
nother monster, right?
I can't even go there with cash and carry.
I there have been times where I'm only 5'1", guys. So if you see me, it's because I have stacked heels on, stacked shoes, something. All of my sneakers are platforms, so don't be fooled by that. I'm 5'1". So at a cash and carry, it moves so fast, but I'm standing in a chair and I'm taking credit card in one hand and cash and letting them go on the other. It's just bananas.
Oh my gosh.
Because to get a Pixie Mood bag at cash and carry, like you've hit the lottery. I just feel like, and I always get so bothered by if it's a husband and wife. I'm like, he doesn't love you if he doesn't tell me name my price and take the entire booth.
Oh my
Because
God.
usually by the time, if you've seen me at a cash and carry, I'm, obviously giving it probably equal value of our wholesale. Then the next day, I'm like, I'll take like $5 off. Then by the third day, you're practically getting a bag for me because I don't want to restore it, right?
No doubt.
So that's kind of how that world went. But I just finished that show and then put my obviously mom hat on. I have a nonprofit organization that I work with and do some things for. So just getting back to your original question of looking at fall, I want to be able to like digest it all. And then spring, we have not launched. I mean, obviously we've been selling spring, but we're looking for that to start shipping either the end of this week or early part of next week. But those colors are absolutely fabulous. We have a
Oh my God.
beautiful lemonade.
That
Do you remember
lemony color and that like icy blue,
ice blue?
like so good. And I loved the accordion fold, the bags, like
The
those
pleated.
little ones, like those were amazing.
Pleated is
It's
the
funny, I'm
thing.
already on to fall. Sorry about that.
No,
Spring
it's
hasn't even
okay.
shipped yet, but I'm already talking about fall.
It's okay. Well, it's how our brains work, right? And it's actually in terms of, because that's the design part of you. We past February, we're on to the next. And
Hmm.
so now it's fall for us. So yes, it is out. It's ready. Just for the US, I need to go, and that's a part of like my responsibility in terms of looking and saying, okay, this is gonna work. They're not gonna love this. This will work for Canada, not for us. So forth and so on. But yeah, I'm excited about that lemon blue, that lemon and that ice blue. I think the pleated is pretty much gone.
Mm.
Just because I mean, it's so beautiful. We're going to bring a story like that back. And that's kind of how it works for us. Once we put a new collection out, we see who the stars are, and then she comes back. It's kind of like American Idol. Okay, you've passed this, or what was Tyra's
I don't
top
watch
model.
that. Okay.
Oh, and people listening know America's Top Model, and she
Yeah.
would say things like, "You've progressed to the next round." So it's kind of that thing. It's like they love you, you get moved on to the next season until we feel like it's time for you to graduate. But the
She's
pleated is here to
fabulous.
stay. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I say that because I realize this is going to come out and air closer to the summer shows.
Okay.
So well, by that point, spring will have long shipped, and that's why I'm like Jones in to
Oh,
find out what your colors are for.
got it. No, no,
Um,
I totally get it.
so I'm going to ask you two questions that I ask everybody at the end of this, is that you clearly have a lot going on and a lot of
Yeah.
travel plus a family. How do you find balance?
Hmm.
And what does like a perfect day to you look like that includes, or doesn't even have to include, like, tell me what a perfect day looks like and how do you find balance?
Sure. So it's an amazing question. It's a very good question. I'll first say that it is super important to make that a priority. Because one way to the left or to the right, then you're like helter skelter, right? Um, I think for me with the travel and then having the 4 kids, I have to make it purposeful. I will say, and I will preface this, and somebody listening will be like, oh my God, that's the meanest thing you could probably do. But when I come home from a show, I need a full 24 hours. It's like, there's no mommy, can I? Mommy, will you? Like, just pretend like I'm still gone for that. Just one day, I'm not really here. And they graciously oblige me with that. And that helps because I have to like turn off that world and I think
Decompress,
sometimes, what's that?
decompress.
Just you have to decompress and you really energy wise have taken on so many different people
Mm.
for 3 at best 4 days. If it's a gift show, 5 or 6 days. Even when it comes to um, people in the industry that are my really good friends, you're there to support one another. I say sometimes we're in the Hunger Games and I want all my friends to win. You may have an amazing show. The next neighbor may have like the worst show ever. And you're being some type of companion. But that's a lot to deal with by the time you're done with all of that. Because now you're selling, you talked about the whole breaking down and carrying pallets. You're like literally a CrossFit individual. And then you have to put on this whole other person and become this. That's a lot. So when I come home, I just got to decompress for one day. Um, I like to say, as much as I love dressing up and I love the makeup and I love doing the hair, I love my yoga pants, my sneakers, my tank. That's just as joyful for me. So to be in that and switch gears and pull off all of that is a beautiful thing. I work out. That helps bring balance just to me. Um, on show days, if I'm setting up a booth, that is my workout
Yeah.
because it's so it's a lot. But even on the road, if I'm on, I mean, I really have to keep up that regimen because it does center me, before a show. It helps me be at one. I love doing New York shows because if I'm at a hotel, I will walk to Javits,
Me
and I
too. Me
promise you.
too.
But doesn't that 10-minute walk or 12 minute, doesn't
Yeah.
it really just woosah and pull you in?
It's also the best way I feel that I see New York. And
Yes,
it's like I
yes,
will walk 50 blocks. It's kind
totally.
of crazy. And I get home and I always say to my husband, I need to walk more here. Like we have a grocery store literally across a 3-lane highway. I'm like, I really need, and damned if I don't just get back in my car. Like
Right.
New
Isn't
Yorkers
that
are like,
amazing?
I mean, that it's like, and being around New Yorkers who walk everywhere, who schlep their groceries onto subways, like
Mhm.
they are like none other. And
They
that's what I
are.
love, like getting to New York and kind of just like jumping into that pace of the walking on the sidewalks and
Same.
just going and being within that whole New York vibe.
Totally the same. Same feeling. I feel like getting an Uber is almost like you're doing what? Like I feel like you're tapping out of the experience, you
Mhm.
know? But the walk, I'm like you. I could walk from 40th all the way to 20th or Chelsea Mark and not think nothing of it because everybody's walking alongside. So you're just going with the flow and enjoying the vibe. So I love things like that because it gives me my, moment, or even if I'm at a show that's not New York, just waking up and having that refresher, even if I go to the gym for 10 minutes, I need that. But yeah, coming home and again, when I come home, it's mom hat and it's nonprofit world and it's just being Val and sometimes the quiet moments. Like I need all of that to like recharge. Um, there is a certain point where my shows are maybe I just do one a month, where it's kind of laid back. Like April, there's only 2 shows, or no, one, Nashville. I'm gonna do that Nashville Magic. May, there's none, so I'm gonna do some vacationing for myself.
Good.
And then June, we're doing Dallas, and then we're back in Vegas. So then it kind of picks back up again. But I just take advantage of the quiet time. Yeah.
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
fine. I often wonder, I always ask that question because I often wonder for people like yourself and other people
Sure.
on nonstop, it's like, where do you find balance? And like a
Yeah.
lot of the time, the answer is I don't. And it's like,
No.
I love how people will be honest about that. It's like, I don't have
Yeah.
balance. Like,
Yeah.
um,
No, it has to be intentional, I will say, because you do get caught up in the whirlwind, and then you're on, like I said, you're doing the next thing, and you forget that, hey, I'm the best version and the only version of myself. And if I don't take care of me, like oxygen mask first, then you're no good to anybody.
yeah.
And being at a show, it's like being the Woody doll. It's like somebody's pulling a string, you're doing the same thing over and over for that amount of time, you know?
That's a great analogy.
It is.
Okay, so the last one is, what piece of advice would you give to people from a sales and psychology background?
I would say be authentic. And I guess before I say that, honestly, for anybody that's in sales, I've found designers that they're like, I don't even like this stuff. I just do it because it sells. I feel like that's such the wrong approach. Because anything that you make, no, like I literally have heard that. Anything that you make, design, if it's your brand, if you're selling it, has to be so authentic. It has to be, because even if you, let's say you're a guy and you made something, like your wife better love it. Your sister better, like that should be the thing. But coming from the perspective of, oh, it's just that I found a need that people want it. And I get it. Sometimes that works and it sells like a gazillion of it. But I think that there's something in this, in the longevity of being a part of something that is so true to who you are. Because then it's effortless. You're not selling. If you ever feel like you're selling, stop. Don't overtalk it. I've done that sometimes and I walked away. There's probably, I don't do it a lot, I will say proudly, but there are two moments, Michelle, where I knew you talked too daggone much. Like, if you would have shut up like 30 seconds ago, you would have gotten it, but you overtalked it. And so the two times that it's happened, I swear, like my whole insides just melted. I was just, I could feel my words leaving me and going, no. um, and you have to know your region. Like in New York, they know what they want.
Yeah.
You know, you let them be and you match their energy. That I love New York because I say this in a loving way, and those that we have brands with, they know what I mean because I've said it to them. Like I can talk as crazy as I want, and they love it. They love the banter. Can I do that in Georgia? Absolutely not. Their feelings would be hurt.
Hmm.
If I said to them and they say to me, I don't like that bag, and I say, yes, you do. We're getting it. I'm writing it. It's on the paper. And then they go, fine, Val, put it on. That's New York all day. Georgia, they would look at me like I had three heads. Like, why is she so rude?
Oh my
so,
gosh, yeah, right.
so I have to coddle. I have to like genuinely like, be in a different space with them. And I said all that to say is just know who you're selling to. The first question you're going to ask is, who comes to your store? What's the demographic? And then I don't care if that's your least favorite bag of the whole line. You give it to them because that's what's going to sell, you know? So that listening is just overall your key piece, and knowing the person and connecting with them is so huge. I don't think that I let anybody who decides to open up a brand, their store with us, I never want them to walk away and not think, okay, I have a friend now. Like Val is my friend. I've told people, you don't love it, walk away. It's not that important to me. I've left my 4 kids to be where I'm at. So it has to be so genuine, and I want you to love it. I don't want to just sell to you because you have a credit card. And so when you do that, then now you really catch the essence of like, oh no, this person really cares,
Yeah.
Or if they ask me about what's selling, what's hot, I like that one. No, we're not doing that. That's not going to work for you. They appreciate that. So just be
Yes.
real, be
Thank you.
honest, be yourself, and you'll get more out of the relationship. I'll say, not just selling. It has to be a relationship. Period. Um, yeah.
Val, thank you so much. That's become like my favorite question, because it's, it changes from time to time, but for the most part, those last two questions, especially about what your best advice is or what your advice is, it's
Sure.
always so good. And
Yeah.
what you have said about selling and knowing your customer and listening and, being honest. And I wish more reps, because I can't even tell you how many I have that it's like, don't listen. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, it's the number one, it's the top selling, it's driving everyone else's business. And it's like, have you been to our store like that? This wouldn't you? And it's like, so thank you. I really
You're so
appreciate
welcome.
that. I hope
Yeah.
that everyone takes a lot out of this. You will see you at the shows, everyone.
Yeah.
This is going to air before the summer show. So my hope is that everyone comes in and introduces themselves to you. You'll be at the Sales Producer Showroom on the 10th floor. I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
On the 10th floor. And I know I look forward to seeing you.
Oh, well, I always look forward to seeing you. You're so fabulous. I want to say to everybody listening as well, if you go to Michelle's page on Instagram or mine, you'll see the stories that she's created for our booth space. And that's kind of like my love affair with her. Michelle, I feel like you're so talented and gifted. And when I first saw it, I'm going, oh my God, who did this? Just like you picked my brain without us having a conversation. All the natural elements that you bought. And this last floral piece, guys, you'll see on her page. Like I said, I posted it, reposted it on mine. But I don't know that I didn't have like a real store, not just like a small boutique that didn't take a picture to try to recreate. They're
Oh,
like,
I love
who?
that.
No, it was amazing. And everybody's like, who did it? And I'm like, she's amazing. It's MC Design. She's great. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank
no,
you.
I think the world of what you do and who you are, and you're so sweet. And I just appreciated this time with you.
Oh, gosh, thanks so much.
No, very, very, very serious. I'm very serious and sincere.